Hi, everyone. I'm John Morris. I'm president of College Broadcasters, Inc., and I'm also an instructor of radio and TV at the University of Southern Indiana in Evansville, Indiana, and the faculty advisor of our radio station 95.7 The Spin. And one of the things that's really important to me, of course, there's numerous areas where this is true, but at our radio station, we have a real focus on production. And we've had several successful people graduate and go on and do some great things, and of course win some awards while they're here. So I'm going to try to pass some of that knowledge along. I'll give you what I can. If we have some time at the end, I will share that and know that I'm pretty good at Adobe Audition, but I don't know everything Adobe Audition does. And my production side is on the radio or podcast aspect of commercials and PSAs and radio dramas and things like that, not music production. I don't have the ear for that, and so that's not my specialty. A couple of announcements before we get going. Do remember that the awards presentation are tonight for the CBI National Student Production Awards. Those will be at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and just go to your app, and at 7 o'clock we'll get it started. Then as we get into the new year, 2022, we will return with some regular online workshops like we did last year. We'll try to get one, maybe occasionally two a month. If you have ideas what you would like us to cover, please reach out to us. You can always reach me at my CBI email, which is president@askcbi.org. And then next year, we are fully planning on being back in person, and we plan on being back at Baltimore, where we would have been 2 years ago, but COVID hit. It is a beautiful hotel right next to Camden Yards, just a couple of blocks, easy walking distance to the waterfront, and it is a great location, and it'll be great to have everybody back. This session is sponsored, and it is sponsored by Megatrax. Megatrax, about them throughout history, creators have always used incredible tools when producing the works that inspire and challenge us. Michael had his Air Jordans, Van Gogh had his Impasto, Jimmy had his Strut, and you've got Megatrax. The legacy as creators themselves has always informed what we believe. It's why we marry simplicity with greatness so that the right track can be delivered perfectly every time. Through the years, we've watched with pride and brag to our friends as our tracks, our libraries, and our people have been elevated to excellence by the talented creators crafting exceptional content. So they're drinking sparkling, they rock sunglasses inside, they have our people, we'll call your people, and they're always on the guest list because spending a lifetime in a creator's corner, it has earned them. And Megatrax is a production library that is on an annual license that I have been very, very pleased with. We've had them for several years. I'm going to demonstrate a couple of things that you can do within Megatrax with a membership, and there's a lot here, and there's a lot that I haven't even discovered. One of the things that I want to do is this is new that they've added within the last year. Let's say somebody comes to you, and maybe that's an underwriting, or if you're in the professional world, they go, hey, we want you to do a commercial for us, but under the music we want to have is the Eagles' Take It Easy. Now, of course, I'll wait till this is over and go there. If you don't like the Eagles, I just don't think we can be friends. The Eagles are awesome. But so they go, hey, we want the Eagles' Take It Easy in the background of the commercial. Of course, you can't use that. That is a major copyright violation. So what you can do is go find Take It Easy in this case, or whatever, any current group or artist, find that song you want, and they have this algorithm that will help find music that's going to be similar to it. It's not going to be exactly it because that's a copyright violation. So this is Take It Easy. So there you go. You have what that is. So what I'm going to do here in YouTube, I'm going to copy that address. And then I'm going to go back over to Megatrax. And in Megatrax, I come down here to the search window, and I'm going to type in that URL that was just there. And I'm going to hit enter. And what it's going to do is run through its program to find things that sound similar to the Eagles and take it easy. Some of the stuff is really close, some of it not as close. And a lot of times clients are going to be really happy with it. So you can see here's a list of songs that are there. Certainly the Eagles have some country sound within them. That's why you're seeing some of the country stuff pop up. So like here's one that's Tennessee Lightning, this first one. It's an alt full mix, alternative full mix list. And all of these things up here, the words are words that you can use to help narrow a search, but we did it through the algorithm. So here's one. And I'm going to stop for just a second because I realized I forgot to turn this on so that you can hear the music. And Cam just said, Eagles are cool. You rock, Cam, without a doubt. So here we go. And we're going to try this one. And now for some reason that sound, the audio has stopped. But that's interesting because we were just listening to it a moment ago. Here, all right, so I can't just grab the pure audio on Zoom. It turns this off so people don't violate copyright, but I'll use it.
You're muted, John.
You can hear.
We can't hear you, John. John, we've lost your audio. We're not hearing you, John.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason at one point the music went, some of the stuff went out. So, okay, well, this is Adobe Audition. I'd hope we would have the ability to hear each other. So sorry about that, but so I could come here and I could play some music. I'll turn it up so it'll go just through the microphone. This voice alone. All right. So to me, that sounds, similar to the Eagles, certainly a crossover maybe kind of with the Beatles. And so if I hit this little caret here, the drop down, it'll give me this full mix that we just listened to. Then there's the narration. So that's going to be without any of the singing. There's a 30 and a 15. I already have something pulled up. And what I'm going to do is bail out of here. And I'm going to go to Adobe Audition, where, of course, this is what today is about. And so I'm going to show you a variety of things that you can do using this that are real practical. All of us at radio stations at one time or another, either we're having a concert that's coming in and we want to do a concert promo, that's going to talk about when the concert is, and then, would hear clips of that artist. Or maybe you're just wanting to do clips of different artists that you play on your station for promotional purposes. What I'm going to use here is going to be some of the stuff from Megatrax. So what I'm going to do is I'm in Adobe Audition, and I'm going to go into multi-track. So multi-track here. This is single track. Here we go, single track edit mode. Anything that you edit and then save in this single track, it is permanently altered. So it's always going to be that way. But if you're in multi-track, you can edit stuff here, you can cut things out. And when you save this in sessions, the original will still be there. So you'll still have it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to import some of the songs that I have from Megatrax. Now you could be going, this could be whatever, artist that you're looking at, 21 Pilots, Imagine Dragon, Grandson, Foo Fighters, all of those. So what we're going to do here is make quickly a promo about a concert we're going to have, and we're going to pretend whoever this is. And so what I've brought in the song that has the words, but then I also brought in the song that's an instrumental. Now for using Megatrax, that's going to be incredibly easy. But let's say you are doing 21 Pilots. Okay, you have the music. How can you get the instrumental? On Adobe Audition, there is a vocal removal tool that you can use. Usually doesn't do really what you want it to do on a deep level and truly remove all the lyrics. What has one option, now there are some concerns about copyright issues here, but let's say you are doing 21 Pilots, choose whatever song, go on YouTube, type in that song, and then type in official instrumental. And you're almost always going to be able to find that. And then you would download that music. So you'd have the original with all the singing, and then you would have the instrumentals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Quit Wearing Guns. Sorry for those who don't like country. I do. And so I've chosen some country. And so I'm going to come here. And so hopefully you can hear that. I'm going to, because I'm not using Megatrax now, I'm going to do this so you can hear it better. All right. Stephen, can you help me? Were you able to hear that music well?
I was going to say he might have stepped out, but we could hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Excellent. Thank you. So, we'll get to the scene. All right, so we've got that singing there. Now, if you were doing a promo, you would never want to talk over vocals. That's a big sin. Don't ever, ever, ever do that. So what we're going to do is find some ways to get the hook, the one part of a song that's really memorable that people would know, or you hope they will know. And we want that, but we don't want all the singing the rest of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in here the instrumental. So this now, if I solo the first track, this is instrumental. I'm going to come here and play. And I soloed it. I meant to mute it, not solo it. This is the one that I wanted to solo. And so you can hear the vocals are gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out, and this song would actually be a pretty easy song to do this because there's a lot of instrumental before. All right. So what I want to do is I want us to talk over the instrumental here at the start. So I'm going to create some envelopes. I'm going to pull it down. And then we've got what they say.
Lord hates to see a wasted life.
All right. And so then here we start again with the instrumental, but the problem is then we get here, we're going to have the vocals. And in this case, I don't want the vocals to be there. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to bring this level all the way down so it'll silence everything there. Or I can come and use my razor, which in Adobe Audition is the letter R on your keyboard. You can just click it. I can go to the letter V as in Victor, hit V, it gives me my little pointy guy back. I'll hit that and it's gone. Now what I'll have is I'll have the instrumental, then the vocal, and then the instrumental where the music right here, the vocals would start again, but I don't want that.
Lord hates to see a wasted life.
All right, so you can hear the vocals aren't there anymore on the back side of that. So what I could do is I'm going to then lower these levels a little bit. I'm going to record over them. Now, because I'm not using headphones, we're going to pick up some of what's coming out of my speakers. But so I've got.
Lord hates to see a wasted life.
Okay, I have no idea who the singers are for this. It's part of that production library. And so I'm going to, once we get to here, now you could record this on your own and then bring it in separately. I'm going to record it directly into multi-track. And then I'm going to start talking here, and I'm going to talk about their concert that's coming up. So what I'm going to do here on multi-track, and I'm going to come in here and you see where it says track 3. I like to put in the name of whatever is on that track. So this is vocal, or for this one, because the other has vocals, I'm going to go announcer, and then I click off of it. Here's the announcer. So if I come here and click R for record, it's prepped to record. And you can see the VU meter here bouncing up and down. If I turn the R off, it goes away. Now, if I turn the R on, it's ready to go. And so I'm going to have this play, and then when it hits here, I'm just going to ad-lib some stuff.
Lord hates to see a wasted life.
See the rest of life in concert this Saturday at the Ford Center, making their COVID return to a packed house. All right, so we just came, and all I did was turn my speaker down, and that's why the levels went down. So I'm going to click off of record because I don't want to record over anything. And let's go listen to this. And I'm going to solo only this track, my voice, and make sure it sounds okay. See the rest of life in concert this Saturday at the Ford Center, making their COVID return to a packed house. All right. It's just okay. There's a couple problems. One, you can tell it's not a quality mic because when my mic was patched into the computer, for some reason, all of a sudden you all couldn't hear me anymore. But this in general should work. But you did hear I had a verbal stumble here. I'm going to show you something that we can do about that. So I'm going to turn off the solo so that now we can see all 3 tracks and hear all 3 tracks. And then when we get to this part, you're going to hear my voice. My guess is the music's going to be a little loud, and we're probably going to want to lower this level some, but I want it to play under. So let's see what we've got.
Lord hates to see a wasted life.
Oh, I double clicked on it. That's why it did that. This
Wasted life.
actually, that's where I want my voice to start. So I'm going to come back to that area. I'm going to lower it. And now I want my voice to be coming in when they're done singing.
See a wasted life.
See the rest of life in concert this Saturday at the Ford Center, making their COVID return to a packed house. All right, so I've got that. Now there's a problem with my delivery. And you go, concert this Saturday at the Ford Center, making their COVID return. You hear that? Making their COVID return. So I was going to show you this down a little bit later, but because I did a mess up here, I'm going to show you a way that you can re-record a portion of this without having to redo the whole thing. Or the other, that sometimes when you make a mistake. The Ford Center making their COVID return. And so they have COVID return. And so some people will go, well, all I need to do is re-record the word return and then continue. The problem is if you do just something in the middle of a sentence and start there, you're always going to have this peak on your waveform. It's going to get louder and it's not going to sound natural. It would sound like as they make their COVID return, something along that line. But I like theoretically this front part. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do something called punch and roll. Oh, by the way, I do have this in written form. And if you want a copy of what I'm doing today, as far as on a Word document written out, you can email me. My email for CBI is president@askcbi.org. Again, president@askcbi.org. Be sure to tell me specifically, would you send me the notes for the Adobe session? Because I am in a couple of other sessions and I don't want to get mixed up. So we're going to come back. See the rest of life in concert this Saturday at the Ford Center. Okay. And so making their COVID return. And what I want to do is here making their COVID return. And I'm going to, now I don't have a script I'm working off of. I'm just ad-libbing this. Let's say this is where I want to start recording. But so I could go in, record it separately, patch it back together, edit, splice, move it. But there's something called punch and roll. If you come down here to the transport mechanism where we have the play and the record and the loop, right here, the red button right now, if we hit that, it would start recording right at that moment on the track that it's highlighted. But I don't want to do that. What I want to do is so that I can record over a portion of this track. And I'm going to come down to the record button and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go punch and roll. And punch and roll means when we hit it, this scrub bar is going to go back 5 seconds. And the default is 5 seconds. You can change how far back it'll go. And then it'll start playing. It'll play this. And then once we get to here, it will start recording. And this is something that this does it a little differently in multi-track than if you were in that single track edit mode. But so I just want to hear making their COVID return to a pack. Okay, so making their COVID return. And this is right where I want it to start. So I'm going to put the scrub bar right there. So what I'm going to do is hit the record. And then if I had a script especially, I'd be talking along with that script. And then when it hits where it needs to, I just keep going along with that script. But here we go. See the rest of life in concert this Saturday at the Ford Center, making their COVID. And the reason it didn't do that is because I didn't push the R or record. Now let's do it. See the rest of life in concert this Saturday at the Ford Center, making their COVID return to a packed house. And now I'm going to take record off. Now, see the rest of life in concert this Saturday at the Ford Center, making their COVID return to a packed house. All right. Now, I'd still want a script to do this. You can hear that there's a little blip right here. I would certainly go in and edit that. But this is something you can do, especially those of you who are doing podcasts, or if you're doing, say, a radio drama and you've got a real long part, rather than going back and editing and cutting and deleting and recording and moving over, use punch and roll, and it can really knock down your edit time on the back end. If you were doing, let's say you got hired to do a book on, a downloadable book, audio book, well, you don't want to have to go back and edit stuff and edit stuff and edit stuff. When you make a mistake, move back a little bit, hit punch and roll, go for it, and you're going to have it. Now, one of the interesting things about here is this recording that we did, we can see it right here. If I drop it down, the original is still there. Center making their COVID return to and that's the original, and I have it soloed, so we only hear that track. Now here's at the Ford Center making their COVID return. But because I moved it, now it's doing a crossfade, but it'll be right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bail out of this for a minute, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to unsolo. So if I click solo, it'll only play that track, or you can actually solo multiple tracks, which frankly isn't solo, but that's what it is. So let's go here. I'm going to get another song, and I'm going to pull its instrumental as well. I'm going to mute these two tracks, and I'm going to find the singing here. All right, I don't need you. All right, that's right where I want it to be. And so what I'm going to do is I have vocals here. So this would be, you're doing 21 pilots and you have 3 songs that you want in this spot. You can use the different songs with the instrumentals. You're never going to talk over a vocal part, and it'll sound really good. Now, what I'm going to do here, it's always a question if you want to start with coming out of the spoken part where I would say mine, or out of the vocals, do you want to automatically move into the new song, or do you want to move into the new song with the vocals when they start? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take this off so we can hear everything. So there you can now. And I'm going to solo this. All right, so anymore, that's where, in this case, I want to cut it. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to create, actually, I got a pan. I'm going to undo that. I need to get the volume. I'm going to click on the volume. And so now when that part, when he says that, the vocals are going to go out and it's going to play off the instrumental track. Don't want to fight it anymore. That was actually pretty stinking smooth. But if we come back here, you can hear there's more singing. There's nothing to discuss. So we don't want that. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to drop it. So now I have, I'm going to take the solo off of these. And I'm going to take this here. I'm going to bring it up to the middle of that. I'm going to zoom out some because I don't want all of this first song playing all the way through, the part that's in purple. By the way, you can change all the colors in here. So I'm going to bring it here. So this is the instrumental. This is where I'd be talking. And then we would have this. And now this is where I'd have some spoken word talking about they'll be in concert at the Ford Center. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster. Don't wanna fight it and then you heard that was pretty much, that's called a train wreck there, because it just started really harshly. So I'm going to actually kind of crossfade a little bit. I'm going to come here. bring this back up because the vocals start there.
Not the same. Don't wanna fight it anymore.
And now we have all just instrumental. So again, I can come here and I'm going to turn the music down some so it doesn't bleed through over in my recordings. I'm going to come to R for record. I'm not going to worry about punch and roll here because I'm not doing that kind of thing, but I'm going to go back here. And so I'm just going to ad lib if this was the concert promo. So I'm going to go back to the start and we'll call this Happy Johnny. So. I started it too loudly on my computer, so it jumped there. I'm going to go back. Let's do it again. Happy Johnny returns to Evansville for his post-COVID tour. You've heard the new releases. Now you get to see them in person. All the new hits for you to hear. Right at the Ford Center, including his newest hit. Get your tickets today at Ticketmaster for Happy Johnny, October 31st. Make your Halloween something special. And so then we get rid of it. Now you heard some of the levels were off. That doesn't matter because I can come in here and work with them. So I've got and then you can bring it across. So you can do some really cool things here. Now, so then of course you're going to go to file, export, and mix down, but you would go through and you'd really finagle those different audio clips and make sure that it runs very, very smoothly. We're not going to spend all the time on that right now. So, because I have several other things that I want to show you. All right, so, and by the way, my students love doing that aspect. That's really cool. Okay, I'm going to come back over here to waveform. And again, whatever editing you do here in waveform, and then you save it, it's saved that way forever. I'm going to do just a general recording, and then we're going to talk about levels and something that is something we do at the station, and that's compression. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So I've got this all ready to go, and I wish I had my microphone. It would work better. I wouldn't get as much of this tinny sound, but let's go ahead and give it a try. Evansville Halloween. The rules are out, and we know when it will be Halloween time on the streets of Evansville. This Sunday, from 4 to 6 o'clock, look for those goblins and witches and all other sorts of creatures coming to your door asking for candy. Okay, so now I've got my recording. That's going to sound really bad because the microphone is really bad. And there's a couple of things that you can see. One is I have peaked too much here. Stay away from that. Just don't do that. What you really want to do for the most part, if you look over here on the right side, this is the decibel level, and you can make it look different. You can do it as a percent instead of the -1, -3. You really want your peak sound to be about to -3 decibels. And so let's listen to what we have. Halloween. The rules are out, and we know when it will be Halloween time on the streets. And that's just terrible, but we're going to go with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a compressor. All the pop music you listen to is compressed, and it's compressed a lot. And compression can actually mean a couple of things in audio editing. What we're going to do is run it through a compressor. And the compressor, depending on how we set it, it's going to bring up certain pitches, certain frequencies, and then it'll actually push down some other frequencies. It depends what we're looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this to half of the file so that you can actually see the difference in how it comes together. So I'm going to go to effects. And by the way, you can use the effects panel over here. When you're in multi-track, I would really encourage you to use the effects rack in there, because you can see all what you did. And then you go, oh, you know what? The second thing, that echo doesn't work. I'm not going to have to get rid of the third and fourth thing. I can just go turn it off. And we'll look at that in a moment. So what I'm going to do is come here and actually going to do the first half of it. So I'm going to run this through the compressor. So I'm going to go to effects, and then I'm going to go to amplitude and compression. And then I'm going to go down to multi-band compression. And in multi-band compression, by the way, would somebody tell me, can you actually see when I do the drop down? Are you able to see that?
Yes, we can see it, John.
Okay, thank you. So I've got the multi-band compressor, and if I come here to custom, the one that we tend to use is broadcast. I know a good amount of people, including some of the professionals out there, they'll work on a tighter bass. And what you'll do is you'll find not only the default that works best for you, but then you can finagle the default for exactly what's best for you. So I'm going to click broadcast. And then when I do, what's happening when you look at your slide faders right here, here are the low frequencies, 0 to about 127, it's actually 137. This controls that. So it's actually it's bumping it up just a bit. Then the mid-range is going up some, and then it's pulling down some of the lower range here. And then what I would do is I would come over here to where it says gain. And like I said, I usually like to run it about -3 dB. So it doesn't drive too hard. Sometimes it'll still come a little too hot, and I'll come back and maybe do -6 dB. So I've got -3. I'm going to hit it. And now Evansville Halloween, the rules are out, and we know when it will be Halloween time on the streets of Halloween time on the streets of Evansville. Did you hear that difference right there? Listen, it's got more punch. It has a little more volume, but it has more punch to it. Halloween time on the streets of Evansville. Right there. And so you can come in and add that multi-track or multi-band compressor and really add punch to your product. What I would recommend is when you record your voice, run it through multi-band compressor. And then when you're in multi-track, you're doing all your stuff, you're doing your layers, you're doing your mixing, you're putting everything together. Then you do the mix down, bring that mix down back here into single track edit mode and run it through multi-band compressor, and it can make a real difference. But always, always, always make sure you listen to it before you put it on the air, because there are times compression can kind of make stuff a little goofy looking and run the levels too loud or too soft. And plus, for guys, some multi-band compressors, the settings work better for men than they do for women. So you're going to want to find exactly what it is you're looking for. To work on that a little bit more, I'm going to come back over here, and I want to bring in, we'll come with this one, a portion of a podcast that we did on purpose to look like this. So what you can see is we have this guy who happens to be me. My levels are pretty good overall. But then the other person, we've all had interviews and podcasts and stuff where we've heard this. And if you have to, while you're listening to something, turn the audio up or down, it tells you it's not right. You should be able to leave the volume level on your computer or headphones or whatever the same, and it should work as you want. But we've got this loud level, this proper level.
82. I mean, I really like that group.
Yeah, they had a massive cultural impact.
And so they're way back there. And no, we need to bring that out to the front more. And so this is a neat little toy that you can use, and you can use this for a lot of different levels. But for this theoretical podcast, it works really well. What I want to do is I want to get these levels to match these levels. Now, you could always come in and manually raise these and come down and manually raise these, and then it becomes very, very time consuming. Instead, I'm going to come up here to effects. And what we're doing again is we're working on volume of stuff. So it's going to be amplitude. Amplitude basically the same as volume. And so I'm going to go to amplitude and compression. And this time I'm going to come down to speech volume leveler. And what it'll do when this pops up, it's going to let me set a predetermined level, and it's going to make all the levels the same. Now, there's still going to be troughs and peaks and stuff like that. It's not like there's going to be a straight line right across, but it's going to make the overall sound consistent. So really watch what happens to this low portion right here. And for this, I've set it at minus 10.9 dBs. It's just kind of where it rolled and stopped. The leveling amount, I don't want it over level, so I went a little less than 100. The dynamic range, that one I don't worry too much about, but you might find a portion that you like. So I'm going to click apply, and look what we have. Now,
But if we really look at it, Blink 182, I mean, I really like that group.
Yeah, they had a massive cultural impact. Even some of the stuff that they did, in the 90s is still having a major impact on alternative music today. Travis Barker doing a lot of producing for these more modern artists.
Yeah, but you can't overlook at the same time Foo Fighters or 21 Pilots. There's some keys to alternative music.
all right, so now you don't have to go back in there and specifically hit each one of those and raise the volume or lower the volume. You can come back in and do this very easily. But do know, if you heard, it also brought up,
But
there's a big old breath, and there's a big old breath right here. And so now this is at the start. That's easy enough. I could come in and get rid of it. There's several ways that you could come in here and work on this. I'll show you a very easy shortcut, but it does change the ambient sound if it's very long. I'm going to highlight this part that's,
in the 90s.
and I'm actually going to come down here in the transport and click loop. So there we go. And I can come up here to effects and silence. And if I hit silence, whatever is highlighted is going to get silenced. Now, the problem is it's pure silence. It's not an ambient silence like in my office. If I quit talking, there's still noises through there. You can hear the computer and the lights and stuff. This is pure silence, so it can sound different. All right, so there we go. Now,
Massive cultural impact. Even some of the stuff that they did, in the 90s is still having.
and you could hear what a dropout that is. So I wouldn't really do that. I would go in and I would lower that level more. But know that when you do the speech volume leveler, those low sounds are all going to be brought up. So if you were interviewing, say, a coach out at the ball field and it's windy and the wind hits a little bit every now and then, a lot of times the speech volume leveler won't work for you because of the way it waves in and out, and it'll make it sound very digitized. So you want to be careful where you go with that. So I'm going to close that one. Then I'm going to do another one. It's going to be, I messed up on purpose. One of these for us to come in and let me see. We have this one. This is the one I'm looking at. Okay, so this is the interview we just heard. And so I'm going to play it again, but there's something in here, and we've all been there, either in a concert or maybe an interview, and there's people in the background and they don't pay attention to what they're supposed to. So,
But if we really look at it, Blink 182, I mean, I really like that group.
Yeah, they had a massive cultural impact. Even some of the stuff that they did, in the 90s is still having a major impact on alternative music today. Travis Barker doing a lot of producing for these more modern artists.
Yeah, but you can't overlook at the same time Foo Fighters or 21 Pilots. There's
Oh, you gotta be kidding. The phone went off. That's somebody's little goofy bidding for their cell phone. And now we
At
have,
the same time, Foo Fighters are 21 Pilots.
no, don't do that. Now you can, almost everything I'm showing you to do, how to do, you can actually do it in about 5 other ways on Adobe Audition. What I'm about to show you, you could go into the equalizer and get rid of some of that sound, or you can do what I'm about to show you. So what I want to do right now, even if we zoom in real tight on here, you can't see the cell phone, the sound that it makes, because this is working with volume, not the pitch or anything. So we have
21 Pilots.
yeah. So what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to see the frequencies that are in use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to view. And in view, you have show spectral frequency display. And if I click that, it's going to bring up right here this spectral display, the frequency. And so the higher, further up that this goes, the higher the frequency. If you look over here at the right, 0 frequency or 0 hertz, which is basically silence, is down here. There's 500 hertz, 100. So, you know, the human voice is through here. Then you're getting up into piccolo and stuff up here. But so we can play it. It'll play like anything else.
At the same time, Foo Fighters are 21 Pilots.
And you're going, oh, you got to be kidding me. Now, a lot of times this can be a cough. Somebody coughs in a classical concert if you're recording. Well, you want to get rid of that. There's several ways that you can do this in spectral view. You can see right now my cursor is a little circle. And what I have up on that is I'm up here in this left side where the little Band-Aid is. Those of you who do Photoshop, you use the little Band-Aid to correct stuff. So what I can do is grab that, and then right here and here and here, that's the cell phone. Because look over here, there's not these vertical lines like we see right here, nor over here. So I can come here.
Foo Fighters are 21 Pilots.
So I can come here if I wanted, and I can use this healing brush, and what it'll do is take the environment around it and get rid of this some to match what's around it. And when it hits there, you can see that it's not as bright. Now, you're still going to be able to hear it
Pilot.
because it's also up here, it's right here, it's right here, it's right here. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this again a little bit more now.
1 Pilots.
So you can remove that some. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come here, especially these lower tones. There are times that you can actually get rid of 100% rid of the sound that you're looking for. Other times you're only able to get rid of a portion of them, and you're still going to have to deal with some of that. And so I'm coming back and doing it again and again so that you can see that brightness. And by the way, the brighter something is, the louder it is. And so you can see this one's brighter. Now let's see what we have. You're still going to be able to hear it.
Foo Fighters are 21 Pilots. There's some,
but it's more in the background. Plus I didn't hit anything here. So you can hear the first part especially. Now, did you see how I overdid it? And it really dropped this through here. So now it's going to have an impact.
Foo Fighters are 21.
You can hear I did way too much. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to undo, get back to the starting point of where everything is. Another thing I can do is come up here, back where I got the Band-Aid. You can get the little square, which is the marquee selection, or you can get the lasso. Depends what you want to do, but these are really just very rectangle shaped. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to get the marquee. And when I bring it over the spectral view, you can see I get the little X there. And what I can do is come in here, highlight what I want, and then hit delete. And instead of the other that heals it associated with what's above and below and beside it, this gets rid of what I highlighted. So I've got there, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to hit delete. And by the way, you can zoom in more. You can see I didn't get all the way here. I'm going to zoom in so that I can see this easier. I'm going to come across here. I'm going to hit delete. And I'm going to come here, hit delete. Now I've gotten rid of at least the loudest of these. And I want to get rid of these. And so I'm removing enough that it's going to make a difference, but not so much that it makes a huge difference. Now, you can see these stand out all by themselves because it's kind of in between some words. Now, one thing you want to watch for when you get to here and you hit delete, if you try to hit play, it's going to do what you just saw there. It's just going to go over that area that you have highlighted. So you do need to come over and click somewhere else. So let's see where we're at here. Oh, I see right there. That one's going to cause some problems. And so what you're doing is you're seeing visually the sound in there, and then you can come in and make some of the changes. Now, again, this is not going to get rid of everything. There are times you can do that. But this is going to get rid of a lot of it, so it's not going to stand out quite as much.
Foo Fighters or 21 Pilots.
Oh, you hear, actually, that did pretty stinking well. Let's come back out here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so I can come to the left some so I can get some more run in front.
Foo Fighters or 21 Pilots.
That's pretty good. Did you hear there's one left? It's right.
Pilot.
It's this one right here. And if I come in here, delete that little bit. Now,
Or 21 Pilots. There's some.
And all you could hear was a ding in there. And so you have removed, and you can see where that is. You have removed that sound that you didn't want.
Foo Fighters or 21 Pilots. There's some.
Do know that this doesn't always work. Because I actually took this same cell phone ring. I got it from one of our places we get our sound effects from. And I put it with some classical music, because if you've ever gone to a symphony orchestra, somebody, even though they say turn your phones off, somebody forgets to do it. And I just inserted it in there and mixed it down. Then I went back to edit out to do exactly what we're doing here. But because of the type of cell phone ring it was, its frequencies were the same as were being played at that moment. So you couldn't differentiate between the cell phone. You could hear the cell phone, but you couldn't differentiate and get rid of it without just badly damaging that symphony piece of orchestra. So you've got that. Then I'm going to close out of the, by the way, any questions? Evelina, you asked, can you do that in multi-track? You're talking about the spectral view, I take it. You can, and I'll just show you where we're at with that. You come here and you can see that there is no spectral view for this. So if you're going to do the spectral view, you do have to be over here in the single track edit mode. And again, everything you do here, when I save it, if I save it right now, it's exactly like it is as we see it. If then I play it back and I go, oh, I ever overdid it, and I'll do this just so we know that it's a mess up. And you go.
Alternative music today, Travis Barker.
Yeah, but you can't overlook at the same time Foo Fighters or 21 Pilots. There's some.
Oh, my soul, that's horrid. If I actually saved it like that, it's that way forever. There's nothing I can do to recover that. So again, when you're in single track edit mode, know that that's there, but it can work some real magic. All right, so then what we're going to do, I'm going to close out of this. By the way, if any of you have any questions at any time, you can talk in the chat. Truthfully, my focus is more right here. If you just want to speak up, that's fine. I have no problem with that. All right, so the next one I want to go to is, we're going to come back over here, is just all my stuff that I was going to bring this in. And let me see. Okay, yeah, I don't need the spectral view for this. But it is interesting if you look at the spectral view, look at how these up here, all of the waves, the view goes all the way to the top. So, and you can see in the waveform, we're overmodulated here. Then here, look at, man, there's very few sounds here. So we have some volume levels that we're dealing with, but it's not spectral. So I just want to get rid of spectral. All right. So this is actually something one of our students did. And there are portions of this that are really good, but the overall production is not good. We're overmodulated up front. We're undermodulated or too low here, and then we're overmodulated here and here and here. And so this can create, if you're not careful, it can really create some distortion and nothing's going to sound good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this. I'll play it in its entirety just so you can hear what it is. And then I'll show you how I'm going to try to salvage it. Remember, when you're, whatever you're doing, always try to get the cleanest look you can, the cleanest recording up front. Because when we go and do what I'm going to do, I'm altering the audio, and it can have positive effects, but can also have real negative effects. So let's go here.
What's new on 95.7 The Spin?
Robert DeLong.
That's no to me.
Meg Smith. Aurora. And Chips. On 95.7 The Spin.
What's new on 95?
All right, kept playing because I have the loop on down here in the transport mechanism in the bottom. Okay, so truthfully, for our station, there are some things that are good about this, some good use of how she gets into music and out of, where she would have had a what we called a train wreck. When you go from one cut of music to another, she covered it with an appropriate sound effect, a zapper, a stinger, whatever, a whoosh, depending on what you're looking for. So she did cover that. But right here, it's too loud, then it's really too soft, then it's too loud, then it's a little soft.
Spin.
Robert DeLong.
All right, so there's a couple of things that we can try. One I like more than the other. Remember that speech volume leveler? Again, this thing, the original recording is messed up, so it's causing some problems. But I'm going to come to the speech volume leveler, back to where we started, and I'm going to keep the settings. Now you can come in here and you can do different levels. You can do it where it'll be kind of careful and it won't bring up some of the unwanted noises. You can do it soft, or you can just manually do it here. So I'm at minus 10 dB. I'm going to hit apply. Look how much better that looks. Now, if there was distortion in any of these places where we saw the waveform was too high, that distortion would still be there in the file. We would be able to hear it. So you got to be careful with that. Now, let's listen especially to the front part and see if it works.
What's new on 95.7 The Spin?
Robert DeLong.
Yeah, that's much better. I don't like it because it drops and then it comes back and then it drops again. But remember how low this was? I'm going to go back here. That's back where it was. So this is,
Spin.
so that's what it was like originally. Then it's
Spin.
Robert DeLong.
So we were able to salvage this, but again, you want to do this as clean as possible, as well as you can. So this actually did work pretty well. The other one that I would run this through, and this is actually where I would start, is I'm going to go back to that multi-band compressor. So she ran this through the original, did multi-track, did the mix down. I can't tell for sure if she ran her voice through the multi-band compressor, which when she did her voice, she should have run it alone through the multi-band compressor. But so after we do the mix down, I'm going to come back to the multi-band compressor that we talked about. I'm going to come here. I'm going to go to broadcast. It's got the settings that I like. I'm going to go minus 3 dB, and we'll see if it works the right level on this. Sometimes it comes across as loud. I'm going to move this to the side, and now watch what happens, especially in this area to the left, as I run it through the multi-band compressor. Now it looks pretty good.
Robert DeLong.
Now, the good news is for this one, one of my production students did this. When I first heard it, I thought, oh, there's no way we're going to be able to get this on the air. There are too many level issues. But fortunately, this one worked well, both with the multi-band compressor and also with the volume, speech volume leveler. I wanted to say one thing before. Do you see, though, this is still real loud? You can see that there's peaks here that go all the way up to the top. Always danger of distortion there. So I don't want it to go. That was how it was reading at minus 3 dB. I'm going to come here. I'm going to run it again. And instead of minus 3 dB, I'm going to run it to, we'll see how it sounds at minus, or see how it actually looks at minus 6 dB. There we go. Now we're a little better in there. But again, we had the original issue. And if we stay away from that original issue, it'll sound better. Every time you manipulate something, it does hopefully what you want, but also there can be some effects that you don't like. All right, I'm going to close this one and say no to that. And then I am sure that you all have heard at one time or another, people pop a mic. When you pop a mic, it's where there's a real hard, and it tends to be with the letter P, the letter B, or sometimes just real hard other breath hits. Sometimes even the letter B will get it. And if you actually say the letter P and pay attention to your mouth actually builds a little dam. You build up this air behind your lips, and then you say it. So the sound comes out, bam, just like that. And that's where popping the mic will come from. Now, if you have trouble with popping the mic, there's a few things you want to look at. Number one, do I have a pop filter on the microphone? That can help. Let's say you have it, but still pop, which can happen, or you don't have it. What you can do, instead of talking into the mic straight, turn that mic at about a 45-degree angle. And the reason is when you say a word, so let's say I'm saying peanut butter and it pops. When I say the P, the diaphragm inside the microphone, when you hit it, it just goes like that. The whole thing goes bam, and that's where you get the popping. If instead of me talking straight into it, I turn it at a 45-degree angle, now when I say the P, it rolls across this and doesn't hit everything all at once. So let's see what we have in here.
Tickets, because we're giving away a sweet consolation prize.
All right, that prize, there's a little bit of a pop. It's not a huge one, but it's there. Now you can actually see, if you zoom in on what you're looking for, you can actually see the pop.
Consolation prize. Listen to consolation prize.
And right, you can see how this here is just awkward looking. And
in the morning.
And now this person, if you listen to it, it's actually not a very good recording because they've overdriven some stuff. And you might go, well, the volume looks okay, but they drove the microphone too hard. Even though going into the recorder looked okay, they drove that too hard. And you can especially hear some of his breaths that you want to be careful of. Here's a great pop. Right there. This was a promo for a morning show we had called Spalletti in the Morning, and it was they did a fantastic job. So right here, see how it just looks awkward? That just is funky. And so you can, to get rid of that, I'm going to click here.
Listen to Spalletti and
you can actually come in and delete it. But if you do, there's always dangers that you could actually create a click. there's a danger that if you get rid of it, it's going to sound awkward, or if I just delete it, it's going to sound rushed. So I'm going to go, let's get rid of it. I'm just going to delete it. Now let's hear it.
Listen to Spalletti
And you can actually still hear it. So I'm going to undo that. I could come here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit tighter because I want to get pretty tight so we can see. And you can see right now, you can really see what the heck is that thing doing up there? That's not where it should belong. I could come over here and right here. And what you'd want to do, if you do this, you want to go to where the sound wave crosses the line. So it crosses the line here, and then over here, it crosses the line here. Otherwise, you can generate a click. You can still generate a click even doing this, but you reduce the chances. So now if I get rid of it, so I deleted it, and I didn't mean to move that. I meant to move this. Let's go.
Listen to Spalletti and Lewis.
And so it's better, but it's still there. The other one you can do, and really this is the avenue that you should do. I'm just going to do this for this whole portion here, and you can see there's some stuff right here. There's some stuff right here. The best thing to do is come through and run it through an FFT filter. And so you can go to the FFT filter. And by the way, you can do this in multi-track as well. Do you know something about multi-track that's interesting? And it bugs me, but that's because I've used this for so long. If you go into the multi-track and you raise the volume, the visual sound waves that you're looking at won't get louder, although the actual level is louder. It always bugs me, but it's just what it is. So I'm going to go FFT filter, and the one you want to go for is kill the mic rumble. And by the way, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. I'm going to show you two down here that are kind of fun. But kill the mic rumble. Popping the mic, P's and B's are real low level sounds in the hertz cycle. So I'm going to kill the mic rumble. And so right now, as you look at this, I haven't applied it yet. This little line, it's telling me that these frequencies, so this is from 0 hertz to 80 hertz, no sound is going to be allowed through. Then everything above 80, all the way to the end, is going to be allowed to go through. So it's going to get a gate and close this. So let's see what it looks like when I click here, especially maybe here and here. Let's see if it'll clean that up any. Yep. Wow. That did really well. So
Price. Listen to Spalletti and Lewis.
now we still have a pop in there, but watch back here in the middle. Whoop, there it is. Watch over here. I'm going to redo this. Oh, it went to the wrong return. I'm going to come here. I'm going to go to the FFT filter. I've got that. There's kill mic rumble. You can tell I've used this many times. And then so again, watch right here, because that's where some of the unwanted noise is, and right here. And when I hit it, that's much better. So truthfully, with this one, I would run the whole thing. There's too much breath in this. And part of the reason there is I can tell you when he got into this, he over processed it, which is always a danger. And so I'm going to come here, I'm going to hit it. And now
Listen to Spalletti and Lewis in the morning during the 8 o'clock hour for your
still nowhere near where we want, because the original isn't what we want, but it's going to help you get in that area. Now I want to show you one other, and by the way, what I'm showing you is just a tiny portion of what you can do here. But so I've got this. I'm going to go back to the FFT filter. I'm one of the types of guys, when I actually have downtime, whenever that happens, I love to get in and just mess around and see what you can do. What in my advanced digital audio production class right now, I gave them an assignment where they had, I think it was 8 sounds, 4 pieces of music and 4 sound effects. That's the only thing they could use. And so they would write a story. That was the first thing. And then they had to use just that music and those sound effects for the story. And part of it would be, okay, I need somebody, I'm talking about somebody walking, I need to go in and get somebody, I need footsteps. That's not one of the sound effects. So you've got to take the sound effects you have, manipulate them, turn them around, and make it sound like somebody's walking. Sometimes that can be done pretty easily, sometimes not. But so I'm going to take away the kill the microphone, the mic rumble, and I'm going to come down here. I just love how this comes across: telephone receiver and telephone voicemail. So let's say you're doing, and at some point, if you do this long enough, you're going to do it where the announcer is talking to somebody on the phone on the other side. We need them to sound like they're on the phone. So I'm going to click telephone receiver. And if you notice here, it actually cuts out a whole bunch of frequency. So it's not going to let anything through until 300 hertz. And so our voice is down in here. By the way, if your hearing's perfect, you can hear from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. I can't hear that anymore because I've listened to lots of loud noises and it's done damage, but I still have a pretty good range. But so it's going to get rid of all this, and it's going to get rid of the top end. And so now when I hit apply, it's going to sound like they are on the receiver end of a phone call. All right, so there it is. But the problem is it's too low. Now what I'm going to come do through, there's a variety of things I could do. I could come here. I can go to the speech volume leveler because it's too quiet. I'm going to hit it. Now it's louder. And something to remember whenever you're doing production, you always know what is being said. The person listening doesn't. And by that, in that one promo you heard before, there was an echo. They applied an echo effect to it. The echo was too much. The person driving in the car with all the other noise going on, they'd never be able to clearly understand what was said. So you have to be careful. I know what was said. I know what was said here. How can you not hear it? Make sure you're listening like a listener. And sometimes that's hard to do. But so I raised the level. There we go. That sounds good. Or I could come back down over here to the multi-band compressor. At our station, every public service announcement, every promo, every sweeper, every any kind of imaging, we run through the multi-band compressor. That's our station policy. By the way, if you go to some stations, there will be some production people who would say that's a deadly sin. Never do that. And I fully understand where they're coming from, but for us, this works. I'm going to apply it. And now, and you can tell that one didn't work as well. So I'd need to raise that volume up a little bit. All right, we have just a little bit of time. I'm going to show you something that some of you may or may not know exists. And I'm going to come here. I'm going to go to the multi-track. And you can see that I've got all sorts of unsaved multi-tracks because I was up to 23. I need to just go get rid of those. All right, this I'll show you an assignment that we're doing in my class with the last few minutes. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go import. And we're going to do what's called ADR. ADR, it's either automated or automatic dialogue replacement. So think of every Samuel J. Jackson movie you've ever seen. If you're at the theater watching it, there's all sorts of cuss words he's saying. But you watch it on TV, and now instead of, the F this and F that, it's the flying monkey, toenails, whatever. They come in and record something later and put the voice in. Or what happens quite often, a lot of people don't realize, is that you're out shooting a TV show or a movie. You're on location. You only have so much time to be there, and you're doing your stuff and a plane flies over. We can't have a plane fly over. It gets in the way of the dialogue, but we can't go reshoot it because we got to get done. So we'll keep the video, then we'll take that back to the studio. We'll put it up on a big screen. We'll bring the actor in. They're going to practice it, match the lips movement, and go from there. And you can do that in Adobe Audition. So it's going to take a moment. And so this is the actual assignment that my class is doing. And so I'll just play it real quickly.
I am in the middle of.
And you can see over here to the left is video. Now, so the video tab is here. I could go to the effects rack. I could go to properties. There's more stuff. We can get into that. But here it is. So now.
Of 7 children. Growing up, my father called me a maverick, which to him was not a good thing. In 1972.
All right. So now what within this assignment, I have my students come in and their job is to match him and his pacing. So what I would do is I would go to record, and then I've got this here. Now I'd have headphones on and I'd actually put 3 timed beeps in front of this. So I'd have a little pace to it and then I would go. But so instead I'm going to hit here. I am in the middle, 7 children. Growing up, my father called me a maverick, which to him was not a good thing. All right. That one actually didn't come across too badly. I'm off a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute his voice and let's see how it matches. Now, by the way, you can do this in a serious setting, such as a movie or a TV show or whatever, or you can go in and grab a clip of a movie and then make them say something else and have something fun online. So let's see how I sound. It should be my voice now instead of his voice here at the start. And I'm going to be off just a bit. I am in the middle, 7 children. Growing up, my father called me a maverick, which to him was not a good thing. Now, the problem is you can actually hear his voice because I didn't have my headphones on. So now you have something really clean. It's not perfect by any means. I'm just cutting this. I'm going to the V, back to my pointer, and now I have this. And what you can do, you can come in here to clip, and this needs to be pretty close. If it's not very close, you're going to have trouble, but you can come into automatic speech alignment. And if I click that, it's going to a certain degree, get this recording to match the original. So I have that, I'm going to click it. Here's now the new one. And you can see it starts a little bit here, is a little late. It started on time there. I'm going to get rid of this. Let's see how it sounds. And for some reason, I keep hitting solo instead of mute. I don't know why I'm doing that today. Here, I'm going to solo that guy. I am in the middle, 7 children. Growing up, my father called me a maverick, which to him was not a good thing. There, so that's not bad at all, and how all of that came together. And it's something, the more you practice with it, the more you try, the better you get. Every show you watch, not every show, every movie you watch, there's at least a certain element of ADR. Those of you who watch The Godfather, Marlon Brando in there, it's been said that he actually mumbled lines on purpose because he liked to come back and in ADR add the emotion that he needed, because at that point he would see how it was all coming together. The problem, of course, with ADR, if you were working on a budget and a timeline, it takes more time. Time in the real world is money, and it can cost more. So those are the elements that I was going to look at, and we only have a couple of minutes. My department chair has a meeting I have to get to. Are there any questions anybody would like to ask just here at the very end? Nope. All right. Well, I hope this helps. Again, if you want to send me an email at president@askcbi.org, I'll send you the paper that talks about each of the things that we went over here. There, I've done some screen captures so you can see what's there. And then, if you're an instructor, you can hand it out. If you're a student, you can just use it how you wish. Otherwise, thank you, everybody, for joining me. Don't forget tonight, the awards. It'll be an exciting time. Take care.